This presentation of an overview of executive functioning. FIDLR stands for the Florida Diagnostic Learning Resources System. We provide child find services for children ages 3 to 5. We have a parent services liaison that helps parents find local services. Our technology department works with students in low incidence programs who have communication difficulties. And our human resource development team provide professional development for regular and special education teachers in 3 counties. We are happy to be presenting a brief overview of executive functioning and strategies to help your little ones become more independent and successful. My name is Phyllis Barrington, and I am a Fiddler's specialist, and I will be working with you today. I will share my screen and let's begin. Okay, let's do this. Our objectives will be know how executive functioning deficits impact our learners, understand how to improve behavior through executive functioning strategies, increase knowledge of interventions and strategies designed to promote academic skills and increase social interaction. What do independent learners look like? Research has shown that successful independent learners have the following traits. They are curious, self-motivated, self-examine and self-monitor. They are accountable and responsible. They become critical thinkers, are problem solvers, may understand without any instruction. They are persistent and good with time management. But we know we still have children who struggle with. They can't follow classroom procedures, need to step-by-step instructions for everything, cannot begin a task, and sometimes seem overwhelmed by information and directions, procrastinate until the last minute, have impulsive behaviors, they lack social filters, lose or forget things, and or leave a trail of their stuff behind, call out during lessons, often irrelevant information, and sometimes they say unkind things without considering the feelings of others. What are executive functions? It is really the brain's ability to access and coordinate all of its functions in order to effectively plan and execute a task. It's necessary for learning. Executive functioning helps direct and manage cognitive, emotional, and behavioral functioning. The conductor, as you see, helps plan, manage, sustain attention, organize, as well as use your working memory, help to monitor your behavior, and inhibit your impulses. These are the skills that we are going to touch on today. For the sake of time, I will just briefly mention the impact of deficits in each area and provide a few strategies to address each. Students need to have control of their executive functionings, behavioral, cognitive, and emotional skills. They should be able to inhibit, plan, and persist by mentally disengaging from the immediate context, organize and approach, be able to plan and prioritize, and persist and monitor. Just a quick fact. A child's executive functioning skills in kindergarten predict reading and math achievement in middle school and beyond, Kenny 2018. The good news is executive functioning skills are more malleable than other cognitive skills. With consistent implementation of research-based strategies, they can be improved. Here's an example of a quick executive functioning test. Even if you know your colors and words, as the video gets faster and faster, you may struggle to keep up. Some of you may even give up. This is what happens with executive functioning. As we pile on more and more information, or set time limits, or expect our children to understand concepts as fast as other children, we are challenging their executive functioning skills. If the task is too challenging or stressful, many of our children will also give up. If you would like to check your own executive functioning skills or practice with your children, there is a link to the Stroop test below. It's important to remember, some EF functions, they are learned through everyday problem solving and play. Making mistakes and figuring it out is a large part of learning. But some executive functioning skills have to be developed through modeling and practice. This may include academics, memory, social functioning, completing chores, following directions, and managing your emotions. Just think about this. Reinforcing a skill that isn't there only reinforces that the skill isn't there. Skill development, what and how. Directly teach instructional, behavioral, and social skill strategies. You must first describe the strategy, model how to use it, provide assisted practice time. Practice results in automaticity so the student doesn't have to think about how to use the strategy. Promote student self-monitoring and evaluate of personal strategy use. Encourage continued use and generalization of the strategy. Our first function would be inhibition. Inhibition, impulse control, self-discipline. It helps people think before they act, helps people keep their feelings in check, and brings rational thought. Deficits in inhibition, they blurt things out, inappropriate things, engage in risky behavior, sometimes overreact to a situation, have trouble dealing with criticism or negative feedback when things go wrong, can't wait for things, impatient, wants immediate gratification. Some strategies for inhibition, sometimes most of these important tools for maintaining self control is to change the environment, keep temptations hidden. For young children, this might mean putting a toy away that is likely to cause conflict during play dates, or avoiding a sweets aisle of the grocery store when you're shopping together. For older children, it might mean keeping electronic distractions away from areas where children do homework. But you can go further with older kids. Teach them how to identify temptations on their own and take the necessary action to eliminate them. It's hard to stick with the program if you don't remember the rules, and your young children have more trouble keeping our directions in mind. They are easily distracted, so it's helpful to remind your young children about our expectations. Much research has been conducted on the benefits of playing games. Games like red light, green light, freeze, Simon Says, all help to increase self control and inhibition. Giving kids a break can help them recharge, and it's also a good way to learn. Studies suggest that kids learn faster when lessons are shorter and separated by some downtime. Turn a chore or unpreferred task into a game and find the right hook to get kids motivated and engaged. Kids benefit when parents talk to them about their feelings, show empathy, and discuss constructive ways to cope. Walk them through possible options and solutions. Studies have shown that kids exhibit poor self regulation if parents ignore bad behavior or give in to a child who causes a commotion or tantrums. They also show corporal punishment, when used consistently, interfered with the development of self regulation and may encourage children to tell lies to avoid harsh punishments. The key is finding a balance to address the misbehavior consistently while talking the child through problem solving. If you seem to be locked in a battle of wills, it's helpful to consider your child's needs for independence. If you talk with your child and consider his or her perspective, you may find ways to adjust your demands and inspire more cooperation. Our second function, task initiation, helps people take action or get started. They may have a deficit in this area if they have difficulty getting started on a task, may freeze up because they do not know where to begin, or have difficulty generating ideas, response, or problem solving strategies. Some strategies that are useful when task initiation may be in question are clear, concrete expectations, interactive checklists, timers, private workspace, reflection, and reinforcement. If you notice, the clipboard in the center uses Velcro. The child can move the visual support of their task over as it is completed. And we also have a work checklist. As they finish with it, they check off each material that they get from the checklist. They notice that there's a timer that goes off, and those things will help them with the task initiation strategies. Additional strategies would be the checklist and task cards that you notice. Time management. It's about time estimation, knowing the task, the steps involved, and how long task will take. We want to be able to identify those time robbers by chatting, surfing the computer, or paper problems. Those are some time management issues. So making printable calendars and day planners a part of their strategies would be helpful for those kids with time management. Using visual timers, schedules, and checklists, as you notice, those will also be additional supports for students that have time management issues. When practicing mindfulness, Go Noodle is one of those activities that we would suggest that you use with your student. The link will be located below. Attention and focus is our next area. With attention and focus, we want to make sure that we include physical activity. Kids who struggle with attention often do better if they are given brief tasks for active play, have brain breaks so students can refresh and get back on task, remove visual distractions, play memory games, and break tasks into pieces. You should continue to have frequent check ins and have and board games available for them, along with puzzles, mazes, and digital games. Organization. Organization is a critical skill as it often flows over into all areas of an individual's life. Just a few examples of what organization looks like includes keeping a neat and orderly room, writing an essay with a clear beginning, middle, and end, bringing required materials such as pencils to class, having neat and tidy binders, and developing an organized approach to completing a project. Those students that exhibit deficits in organization loses train of thought, especially when being interrupted, loses items like their phone, homework, and materials, mixes up assignments, doesn't bring what is needed for task completion, and the desk appears messy, full of crumpled papers, folders, or unorganized. So when there's an organized workspace into specific areas, it helps minimize the clutter. Schedule a weekly time to clean and organize the workspace. Make a checklist for getting through assignments. For example, a student's checklist could include such items as get out pencil and paper, put name on the paper, put a due date on the paper, read the directions, anything that would require them to be organized. Take step-by-step approaches for managing their materials. Our next area would be flexibility. And this is the ability to change course when what you are doing isn't working. It's also the ability to adapt to change easily, even to the unexpected, as well as the ability to take advantage and seize opportunities when they arise, even if it means changing the course. So your deficits of flexibility include trouble rolling with the punches. You become frustrated when asked to think from a different perspective. Lose interest in a task or project, leaves it unfinished. Trouble switching gears, especially when a new skill or task is being asked of you. And panic when routines or rules are changed. So here are some examples. A child is engaged in one project, and it's time to clean up and start something else. The strategy, practice shifting through role play and or providing advance notice of what is coming. Use timers. A child has a task to do, such as set the table as the helper, but cannot stay attentive to the task because every time he or she leaves a toy she likes, she is distracted. The strategy, provide a checklist or visual supports, possibly a social story, reinforcement efforts, even small ones. Use incentive plans such as first and then. Next, A child who is accidentally bumped by another child automatically responds by hitting or pushing. A strategy: take the perspective of another person and formulate a solution to the problem. Recognize triggers and teach active listening and speaking. Some fun strategies to increase flexibility would be some board games such as Max, Jenga, and Distraction. When it comes to working memory, which is our next area, working memory is the ability to act on past memories and manipulate information in new situations. Working memory allows us to learn. Using working memory skills, we can use past information in reading in order to read sight words. We can remember math facts, state capitals, mnemonics, phone numbers, addresses, and friends' names. We can then use that information to answer questions based on what we know and apply that information in new situations. So, some simple strategies for working memory would be take guided notes or have the child repeat back what is said just for clarity. Others can be reminder messages, including verbal, picture, or an app based. We can have those reminders for our students. Rewarding our students for remembering. Thank you for getting your backpack ready. Good job getting ready for lunch. Or have in place those daily rituals and routines. There are several games online, including YouTube, where your child can practice their working memory. There is a link found below. Our next area would be emotional control. And the National Center for Learning Disabilities stated kids who are lacking in impulse control have a diminished ability to regulate their speech and behavior. They find it difficult to stop and think. They haven't learned to ask, what's happening here? When this happened to me before, what did I do? If I say this or do that, will I help the situation or will I make it worse? They have trouble following rules and directions and sitting still in class. They may seem to talk incessantly and interrupt others. So, to work with our emotional control, we want to be able to teach the student to recognize cues to emotion, label emotions, and do not assume that the student understands their own emotions. Role play and model what those emotions look like, and use active listening. Another way for emotional control is to reinforce the effort. We want to teach coping skills. If you notice, there's a coping skills wheel here. Let them tell you what they want. These are just big emotions. Then there are social stories. Let's write a story about our emotions and what they look like, how they feel. The stop, think, and act. The red is stop. Before you do something, stop about it. Stop. The yellow is think about what you are about to do and say. Then the green is go. This means you're going to act. Now that you've stopped and you've thought about it, you're going to do what is the best possible choice. What is the good choice? And then there's an anger meter. The anger meter is just a simple scaling tool that you can use to monitor your anger. You can ask a student, how do you feel right now? They can point and tell you, I feel green today, or I feel yellow today. You must teach the skill. You must teach the deficit skills. Do not assume that they will just magically develop. Use the child's interest as a motivator. Use the PREMAC principle, which is first, then this. We're going to do this first, then we will do that. Provide just enough support, then gradually fade. And keep some support in place until they achieve mastery, and always be aware of their small successes. Finally, self-monitoring. With that, help our students to be able to use outlines for tasks, especially those with several steps. Use a self-monitoring schedule. Provide them with visual reminders of appropriate behaviors. Implement a sensory diet if appropriate for those students that may have some sensory issues. Teach self-talk strategies. I can do this. I can try my best. I am smart. Practice using timers and providing them with social stories. Thank you for attending our brief overview of executive functioning. We hope you learned some strategies to help your children thrive at school and at home.